that the choices that we make us who we are. My closest friends, Professor definitely, when I look back, I feel that it all happens for the best. Of course, situations like that. There are a few tricks that I use to try to get out. I actually feel sorry for the undergraduates. There are other things and welcome to the third episode of Light of FMF, the latest initiative of FMF Media, University of Colombo. I'm Sachini Zoysa, the host for today's session. Taking a unique approach to this interview series, we intend to bring out the interesting, untold success stories from our very own senior lecturers, right from the Faculty of Management and Finance. This series is entirely dedicated to have a little hearty talk with the superheroes of our faculty. The guest speaker for today is a humble, perceptive and an inspiring personality who at present is a senior lecturer in the Department of Marketing and is also the editor-in-chief of the Colombo Business Journal published by the Faculty of Management and Finance. She is none other than Dr. Dinuka Wijetunga. Hello madam, I warmly welcome you to Light of FMF. To start off, let's go back to the beginning. Madam, what inspired you to choose this career path? Was it by fate or was it by choice that you became the successful personality you are today?
Morning, Sachini, and thank you very much for inviting me as a speaker in this forum. So your question has two parts. So the first is what inspired me to choose this career path, and then what has made who I am today. So to start off with the first question, I think it's actually quite simple. During my A-level times, we used to I used to get together with some friends and discuss, study. So we would share knowledge, and my friends used to tell me that I was pretty good at explaining stuff, and I found that I enjoyed doing it. So I thought, teaching is a nice career path, but I'm not very good with children. So I thought, okay, I better not become a school teacher. So I thought, when I was selected to university, I thought, okay, I should become a teacher. So that's kind of how it started. And the answer to the second part of what you see in terms of who what I am today, whether it's doctor or professionals, I think it's a little bit of both. Because if I think about the privileges I've had in life, I've been blessed with a lot of things, and those things were not by choice. They were actually luck. Like for example, the family that I was born into, not just the nuclear family, but also the extended family, which is incredibly supportive. Have been throughout. I've got a large inheritance extended family, and we are all very nice. So that's a huge luck in my life. And then the school that I went to, Girls High School, the great teachers I met there, and so many opportunities that we receive as students for extracurricular activities, for organizing things, and so on. I don't think that kind of opportunities are there in all schools. So I was very lucky there, because I think the foundation for who I am was laid So that was cool. And then in higher education, again, I was lucky to meet some really good teachers, like, for example, the late Professor Wanigasekara, whom I consider as a kind of a mentor and my guru in marketing. He's an amazing teacher and wonderful conceptualizer, and a great personality. So I was lucky to meet him. And my two last former teachers in education, my two PhD supervisors, Professor Hardy and Professor Ramsey. I was lucky to meet them, especially Professor Hardy. Taught me not only how to do research, but also how to supervise students. So all those things are, I think, elements of luck that had a huge role to play in who I am. But then there's also an element of choice in that, I believe that the choices that we make in our life make us who we are, everybody. And when I look at the different choices I have made, I would like to just touch upon one type of choice that I've made in life, which I feel has had a great deal to do with who I am. That is my conscious choice in terms of deciding, selecting people to follow, selecting different, the different character traits that I want to follow, and also making a conscious choice about the kind of character traits in people that I don't want to follow. So to give some example of former, once I became a teacher, the first person who had a great influence in my life was my mother, who is a retired school teacher, and some of my school teachers. Both my mother and these teachers considered teaching. They took teaching very seriously, and they considered it as a profession where they're responsible for the futures of young people. Of course, their students and my students are different because they were teaching children, and the responsibility is much greater than because I'm teaching adults. But still, that approach, to take it seriously and think of it as being responsible for some of these futures, is something that really impacted the way I look at it. And then there are many colleagues in our faculty, particularly, from whom I've tried to adopt certain character traits. Like one is the late Professor Sanjana D, who had many qualities, and one of the things that I'd like to emulate is his passion for research. He had immense knowledge about research philosophy, research methods, social theory, and so on, and his passion for research. And of course, I can never really, I cannot really aspire to become, reach anywhere near him. He was like, he was playing in a completely different league. But still, I like to follow him. And then my two closest friends in faculty, who have been my best friends for the past 20 years, Professor Wanigasekara and Professor Wanigasekara, have inspired me in many different ways now. Professor Wanigasekara is unrelenting in his commitment to quality. And I have never come across anyone who is so meticulous in his preparation, whether it is lectures, whether it is setting an examination paper, writing a research paper, or even just preparing for a 5-minute speech. The amount of commitment, effort that he puts into preparation is just very inspiring, and I try to follow that. And he's also a person from whom I learned introspection. He always questions whatever he does, the decisions he makes. He later looks back at them and then asks himself, why did I do that? What was the reason? Are they good reasons? Are they bad reasons? How have they affected other people? And so on. And that's something that I try to follow in this character. And then my other friend, Dr. Dinuka Wijetunga, is also a very quality conscious person, and she's also a very methodical person. There's a lot of planning. That's something I find not difficult to follow, but I like to. And also she is a person who's very much concerned about the well-being of those who are around her. I remember last year when the country was suddenly thrown into lockdown for 3 months. She used to bring cooked food to the security staff of the faculty because the dean had told her that they don't have any place to actually buy food. Now, that sort of thing would never sort of occur to me spontaneously. So I've had to kind of develop that trait by following. And then my other very close friend who's a bit younger to me in the faculty, Sanjana D, is one of the most passionate, kind human beings I've ever met. He has this terrible, absolute dislike to hurt anyone. And I'm a person with a short temper. I become angry quickly. I shout at people and then regret it. So they regret it. And so I try to follow him in being this kind, soft, compassionate person. And another person who has inspired me the same way is our head of department, who seems to achieve a great deal of work with people. I've never seen her angry. She always smiling. She's never confrontational, and somehow she gets things done. And that's an art I would very much like to learn. I try to follow her. So this is one type of choice I've made, selecting people and their characteristics, traits that I would like to emulate. Of course, all these people are far above me in all these characteristics. I have a lot to catch up with. But then, life is a work in progress until you die. So those are some of the choices that I have made.
Yeah, what you said was exactly true. Life is work in progress until you die. So moving on, life has its ups and downs, but we never tend to appreciate the ups unless we go through some downs. So I'm quite sure that this is the case for you as well, madam. Looking back, what were the hardships you encountered with regards to your career, and did it help to become a stronger person in life?
Well, linking back to what you asked about luck, I think I've been very lucky in that I haven't had that many hardships in life. But I can recall one time I told you that before I entered university, I had this wish to become a university lecturer, and I thought that if I did well in my studies, I would get an opportunity to join the staff of my university, Java University. But it was not to be. So I graduated. I didn't get an opportunity to join the staff. That happens, and then. But I didn't want to actually go into the corporate sector. So for a while, for about 6 months, I did some part-time teaching at Butcher Department. I think 3 days a week at 600 rupees a day. And then after that, I got a temporary position at Sabaragamu University, which was at the time was not that easy because it was far away from home. It was like a 7-hour journey by 2 buses and then about 1 kilometer of walk to where I stayed, and the accommodation, especially initially, was not very good, quite primitive. So those were somewhat hard times. Whether they made me stronger, I don't know. I mean, I've never really thought about it that way. But I definitely, when I look back, I feel that it all happened for the best, because I've had some great experiences both at Butcher Convent and at Sabaragamu University. I've made some really good friends, and some of those students still keep in touch with me. So I think it all happened for the best. But whether it made me stronger, I really don't know. I never really thought about it actually.
So, moving on, when life gets tough, sometimes we choose the option of giving up or just not perform to our potential. As a senior lecturer and being with students for quite some time, you must be able to relate to this very well. What advice do you have to the students to keep the momentum going and to not give up in the middle?
That's a tough one. I wouldn't actually want to give advice. I think I'll share some of the tactics that I use when I experience that sort of thing. The reason why I don't want to give advice is that, I mean, I could have given you advice. I'm the type of person who never gives up, who never sort of lets the momentum slow down and somehow go on. But I'm not. My momentum slows down at times. I become discouraged. There have been times that I've given things up. So in that context, if I try to give you advice, I think that will be the height of hypocrisy. So I don't want to give advice, but when I come across situations like that, there are a few tricks that I use to try to get out of it. So I'll share 3 of them, I think. The first is I talk to a good friend. I found that there's no better remedy than sharing your discouragements, the downs, with an empathetic pair of ears who can understand what I'm going through and be supportive. So I share my frustrations with a good friend. That is one strategy. The second is trying to focus on the good that comes out of whatever I'm doing. So if I feel discouraged about teaching, I think about some of my students. Like, for example, there are students who come to me in semester 5 who have never even really heard of what research is, and then they learn research methods from me, and then some of them go through a seminar on research class with me, and then I end up supervising them as well. And when I see the transformation in some of them from that student who hardly knew what research was into someone who is so competent as a research, undergraduate researcher, and so confident in that process, it gives me inspiration to start with an entire new batch and go through the whole process again. So that's a second strategy. And then the third one is, there are some people who actually shame me into snapping out of my miseries. Again, mostly among my students, because over the years, in my 20 plus years of teaching, I've come across so many students who face immense difficulties. There are students with unbelievable economic hardships, students who come from broken families with a lot of family problems, students who have language difficulties through no fault of theirs. Some students have all 3 of these. And then among them, I come across students who just plow through all this through sheer determination and will. And when I come across such students, I always stop and ask myself, if I had to face this kind of difficulties as an undergraduate, would I have gone on the same way? And if I'm honest with myself, the answer is often no. I don't think I would have faced those difficulties with that kind of determination and will to go on. And that's a very humbling thought. And when I come across that sort of students and when I think like that, I always tell myself, snap out of it. Your problems are nothing compared to what these kids are going through. So it's your duty to help them. They are facing life with so much determination, and it's your duty to help them, support them. So that's another strategy that I use to kind of pull myself out of misery and then keep the momentum going. If at all I give one advice is See, if you feel you're facing a bad time, and then momentum has slowed down and so on. Looking back, what I would like to suggest is try not to regret, because regret really achieves nothing. It's just a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. Once you've managed to pull out of it, even the best of people can have that kind of moments, and that's okay. Nobody's perfect. So you tell yourself that, and then just once you've managed to pick yourself up, just to go forward. Yeah.
That's indeed an amazing answer. So with that, we have now come to the most exciting part of Light of FMF. It's time to talk about some good old days. Being a lecturer at Faculty of Management and Finance at University of Colombo, you must be having countless number of memories. So from all these, if I ask, was there any incident that you can recall as unforgettable? What would your answer be, madam?
Oh, there are so many unforgettable memories. I think that's one of the advantages of being a teacher, because you collect memories more or less every year. So I would like to share just a couple of those unforgettable incidents. One is relatively recent ones. One is last year. I supervised 3 individual peer-reviewed projects last time, and so obviously, as you know, they had to submit online. I gave the signature over email. They submitted online. I could never meet them, and then they said, we want to have a group WhatsApp call with you, just to have a chat. So we had this call, and we talked for about an hour, and during that conversation, I was so touched to realize how much of an emotional connection that they've made with me, and also between themselves. They talked about how they shared their experiences, how they helped each other, how they looked after each other, and also what they got through, and so on. Now I'm a person who talks a lot, someone who can never explain anything in 2 words. But that phone call, I talked very little, because especially towards the end, I couldn't talk. I was all choked up, and tears were pouring down my face. It was a very, very special moment. And then another one quite recently, just last week, I finished a seminar on research quiz, and we had the final quiz presentations, for which I invited our other staff members of the department of marketing. And I started listening to these presentations of my students, and how they answered the questions, and how they took the comments on board, and how they responded to them. And I was so proud of these students, because I felt that these are my kids who, again, came to me with hardly any knowledge of research, and they were talking like seasoned researchers. And it's such a proud moment, that moments like that remain in the memories for a very long time. And I hope my other students won't get upset that I didn't mention them. But if I start talking about these kind of memories, I think we'll be doing this interview for a month or 6 years. It will never end. So those are just a couple of examples, great moments that I have remained in my memory for a long time.
The way you explained, I could surely say that they were unforgettable. So moving on, will you share with us some of the memories during your university life related to friendship, brags, clubs, special achievements, and so on? And added to that, what was the most memorable one out of them?
In some ways, I think that I did not really. In some ways, I think I didn't really enjoy university life to the fullest, because I did very few extracurricular activities. Basically, I did nothing, I would say. No schools, no clubs, and nothing really much. But I had some great friendships. I was in a clique of 4 boys and me, so I was basically the queen in that group. and we had so much fun. And the best thing that I remember is every year during study leave we used to come home. I live in Kandy, and several of my friends also lived in Kandy. So we would all there was one friend from Gaul, but we would all pack up and come to Kandy and suffer. We had one whole month of study, and we would get together at one place, person's place. Most often it was mine, to study. And of course, we did study, but but we had so much of fun. I mean, I remember we would have we would study in the morning, and then we would ostensibly break for lunch, and then afterwards we would start a card game, or believe it or not, we would start a game of Scrabble. Anyone who has played Scrabble will know how long it takes to finish a Scrabble game. So sometimes the whole afternoon is spent on something like that, and arguing over words that never saw an English dictionary, and that was so much fun. And I think those things, the fun, the relationships I had with my friends, are the things that I remember most.
Okay. So moving on, do you see a difference in the life of an undergraduate now compared to back then? And if you were given a chance to relive a moment from the 4 years in your university, what would you choose and why?
Definitely there's a huge difference. I actually feel sorry for the undergraduates today. I'm not a big fan of the semester system. We had one whole year during which we studied about 6 or 7 subjects, and we had one examination at the end of the year. So there was a lot of time in between to do other things. I mean, if you wanted to do extracurricular activities, sports, join clubs, politics. Student politics is not a bad thing. They're okay. So a lot of time to do other things and enjoy university life. I don't think the students today are getting that same opportunity, and I feel sorry. Of course, you all are even worse off because you were doing everything online, but being digital natives, as one of my students reminded me recently that I think you're more comfortable with it, but still, I feel that the undergraduates today are not getting that same opportunity that we did. So if I could relive some of these moments, I think those studying days were the most fun. And if I could go back, those would be the days that I'd go back. And also perhaps the fiction section of the university library. I love reading stories, and my library cards, when I returned them at the end of 4 years, were in pristine condition because they were always within the library. I never had them. But I rarely borrowed subject-related books. I always had a couple of great fiction books which I borrowed from the library. So those will be the moments I would read.
Moving on to the final segment for the day, lesson for life. Any lesson or advice no one taught you, but you wish to tell to your students, or if I put it in other words, a life lesson you wish you knew sooner in life?
Okay. I think in my 20s, when I was young, I used to have this code of conduct, a set of principles that I lived by. I don't think they were bad principles; they were good. But the problem was that I used those principles, that code of conduct, as a yardstick of measurement to judge people. So whoever did not fit into that code of conduct, I judged quite harshly, I think, and I think that made me very intolerant, less, a person who is not very likable, rather judgmental. But later in life, through experience, and also I mentioned the influence of the Prabhajai Singh, meeting him and through experience, I realized that my code of conduct or the principles that I live by are not the only worthwhile principles to live by. There are other things that other people follow, which I believe, and also that sometimes even the best of principles cannot be followed by people, including myself, depending on circumstances. Sometimes people infringe their own principles due to circumstances, and that being tolerant in that sort of situation makes you a much better human being. And if I had that knowledge at that time as a young person, I think I would have been much more likable person at that age.
Just like how all good things come to an end, we too have reached the final question of the day. Madam, what would be your concluding advice to all our viewers and anyone who is living up to you?
Again, I would like to reframe my answer a little bit. Rather than calling it advice, I would like to share some of my views on life. Because, as I mentioned earlier, I don't like to think that the way I look upon life is the best way or the only way to look at life. So I will share some of my ideas, and it's up to you to accept or think about it. So there's some food for thought, I would say. So from childhood, all of us, you, me, everyone, we've been taught about the importance of having life goals, targets. And I think they're important. It's important to have goals, important to have targets. But at the same time, I feel that when one is single-mindedly focusing on achieving one life target after another, one misses out on life. If I were to use an example that is used by one of my teachers, Mr. Godwin Samara, in a different context, but I think it fits this context as well. If you imagine that you are climbing a mountain and you want to get to the top, and you're focused on that summit. Now, during your climb up, there are so many things that you pass. Of course, there are dangers. There could be wild animals, there could be thorns and hilly bits and that are difficult to climb, all that. But also there are some, on a mountain you would come across so many beautiful things. There'll be some streams that are gurgling down the mountainside with fish in them, birds that are chirping around, little animals, beautiful plants, trees, sometimes insects, rolling balls of mud along the ground, and the vast blue skies and the clouds and all that. There's so much of beauty around you, along with the dangers as well. And if you just focus single-mindedly on reaching that summit, you miss out on all these beautiful things that you could experience on your journey up. And also, if you, by any chance, if you fail to reach the summit, if you cannot reach up there, you feel frustrated and you feel that you wasted that entire journey. But if you enjoy the climb, if you take time to enjoy the streams, enjoy the birds, the fish, the plants, the insects, the sky, the breeze that is sort of surrounding you, feel the coolness, all that. If you enjoy, absorb, experience all that, even if you don't reach that top, you wouldn't really feel disappointed because you enjoyed it all. You enjoyed the climb so much. So I feel that having targets, life goals are important. But if we could learn not to hang our entire happiness on the achievement of these goals, but also enjoy the trip, enjoy life, in that the trip to achieving those goals, I think it would make us much more happier people, and also the journey would feel lighter, and the burdens that every life has would not feel so difficult, because we also enjoy a lot of other beautiful things in life. Of course, again, you might not reach the targets, or you might not get all the accompanying sort of acceptance from society of reaching those targets. But to me, I feel that it's secondary, because everyone wants happiness in life. So if you can be happy with who you are, what you are, whether you get those acceptances, the praise, they are important in life, but they become secondary. So that's my take on life. So I hope it will give some food for thought to you as well.
That is very valuable piece of advice you gave. So yeah, thank you, Dr. Dinuka Wijetunga, for joining with us for the third episode of Light of FMF. We are truly grateful that you accepted our invitation and took part today. Please do take care of yourself and stay safe. With that, we wrap up the third episode of Light of FMF. Do subscribe our official YouTube channel and join us for more exciting content in the coming week. Thank you and stay safe.